Hello, Magic English 8 here. Thank you for watching my videos. I hope they are improving your listening skill. And if you find them useful, please kindly share them with your friends and invite them to come to the channel as well. Today I am with you with another unit of Tactics for Listening Basic. And the book is kind of finishing. So far I have covered 22 units of the book, and today it is unit 23. Talking about different cities and countries around the world. The title of the unit says Places. If we go to the word file here at a glance, we can see today we are talking about cities and countries, talking about city living, listening for attitudes, listening for preferences, listening for gist of the idea, the time that you give your summary in order to develop your speaking, and the time that we cover sentence by sentence, that is listening for details. And also covering sentence stress when we are concentrating on our pronunciation. So, the get ready of the part has 6 cities with 6 sentences. We are supposed to match them. It says Paris, Rio de Janeiro, Hong Kong, San Francisco, Sydney, and Montreal, or as they go, Montreal. Number 1, it's a beautiful city with very famous beach. Thousands of people attend Carnival. So when it says Carnival, it must be Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. It's a popular city for tourists from all over the world. It's famous for its cable cars. Cable cars, mostly in San Francisco. And for those who might not know what cable cars are, cable cars in San Francisco especially, these are cable cars. Very beautiful and also nostalgic. Number 3, it's a beautiful city on a harbor. The moment I hear the word harbor, only Sydney comes to my mind. And also Opera House. This is the Opera House in Sydney. It's a noisy city and it's very crowded. People there speak English and Chinese. And a crowded city it is Hong Kong. It's a modern city where people speak both French and English. So it must be in Canada. It has very cold winters. Definitely it is in Canada. Montreal. And number 6, it's a romantic city. So when I hear the word romantic city, Paris comes to my mind. With some beautiful old buildings. It has a very famous tower named the Eiffel Tower, Paris. Okay, not very difficult, but kind of we understood what the listening is going to be about. Now, listening 1, people are talking about the cities they are living in. Do they like it very much? Do they not like it? Or halfway between, like it a little? Okay, let's listen.
1. How do you like where you're living?
So, I repeat myself. One time we listen non-stop. You please take notes, and after each number, give your summary to develop your speaking. Okay, let's go.
1. How do you like where you're living?
Oh, I love it. There's so much to do here. And I have a lot of friends here too.
Okay. She likes the city very much because there is a lot to do and she has a lot of friends there. If you want to give your summary, when the listening finishes, please pause the video and you give that because you don't want to listen to what I say first, okay? Number 2.
2.
What's your city like?
Well, the good thing is there are a lot of things to do here. There are good theaters and restaurants. The trouble is it's getting very polluted, so it's not as nice as it used to be.
So the guy has both good points and bad points about the city. The good points, there are good theaters and restaurants, and the negative point is it's getting polluted. Number 3.
3.
Do you enjoy where you're living?
Well, I enjoy a lot about it. The city has a very nice climate. It's never too hot or too cold. And it's a safe place to live.
So he likes his city very much, especially because of its climate, which is neither too cold nor too hot, and also it's a very safe city to live in.
4. What's it like to live in this city?
Well, it's very noisy and crowded, and the pollution is getting really bad. And I think we have one of the worst transportation systems in the world. I'd love to live somewhere else.
Is there one single item you like about the city you're living in? So he says the city is too noisy, it is too crowded, and pollution is very high in the city. Also, he says one of the worst transportation systems in the world. Therefore, he decides to live somewhere else. So your summary could be something like what I say in order just to activate the vocabulary and grammar in your mind. Next one.
5. How is it here anyway? Is this a nice place to live?
Oh, I'm really glad we moved here. The air is fresh and the people are very friendly. Rents are pretty reasonable and it's a very safe city too. That's so important. Also, it's close to the sea, so it's great in the summer.
Lots of beautiful things about this city. So she loves the city she is living in because it has fresh air and the people are very friendly. Also, the city is very safe and rents are reasonable. And on top of all that, the city is close to the sea, which is great for the summer.
6.
Do you enjoy living here?
Some things are okay. The restaurants are pretty good and the subway system is pretty good too, but it's very old and not very clean. The weather also isn't that great. It's very hot and humid in the summer and pretty cold in the winter, but in general, it's not too bad.
Okay, again, he has got some positive points about the city and some negative ones. The positive ones, the restaurants are very good, subway system is good, but the problem is that the city is kind of old and not very clean, and the climate is not that interesting. Kind of hot and humid in the summer and cold in winter. Okay, this was the first time we listened to it and we practiced our speaking as well. So let's go back, listen to it sentence by sentence and repeat it. Are you ready? Please repeat with me.
1. How do you like where you're living?
How do you like where you're living?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, I love it.
There's so much to do here.
There's so much to do here.
And I have a lot of friends here too.
And I have a lot of friends here too.
2.
What's your city like?
What's your city like? So, do you remember in interchange? Yellow interchange, unit 3. We had it. What's he like? What's she like? What's she like? And the answer is she's tall, she's short, she's funny, she's serious, and all of these things to describe personality traits. What's he like? What's she like? Now she says, what's your city like? Or what's your country like? All of that means describe it. So, what's he like? What's she like? What's your city like? Also about weather. What's the weather like? What's the weather like? It is cold, it is hot, it is rainy, or anything else. Very useful question.
Well, the good thing is there are a lot of things to do here.
The good thing is there are a lot of things to do here.
There are good theaters and restaurants.
There are good theaters and restaurants. So, you know that the pronunciation of this word is theater. The pronunciation of the word is theater. Theater. Okay? So please pronounce it correctly.
The trouble is, it's getting very polluted.
The trouble is, it's getting very polluted. 2 points here. The trouble is means the negative point is. And get polluted. So get polluted means become polluted.
So it's not as nice as it used to be.
So it's not as nice as it used to be. It's not as nice as it used to be. Again, 2 points here. It's not as nice as it used to be. It's not as nice as it used to be. Number one, as adjective, as comparative adjectives, you know about it, and used to plus base form of the verb, which talks about something that happened in the past but it's not happening anymore. It says in the past it was nice, it is not nice anymore. So it used to be nice in the past. Okay?
3.
Do you enjoy where you're living?
Do you enjoy where you're living?
Well, I enjoy a lot about it. The
Well, I enjoy a lot about it.
city has a very nice climate.
This city has a very nice climate. So, what is the word climate? Climate and weather. So, what is the difference? The difference is that weather is temporary and it's for maybe today just. But climate is a general word. For example, we say this country has a dry climate. Means often it doesn't rain here, but maybe today it's rainy. So what's the weather like? It's rainy today, but the country has a dry climate. So that is the difference between climate and weather.
It's never too hot or too cold.
It's never too hot or too cold.
And it's a safe place to live.
And it's a safe place to live. Are you repeating with me? Please.
4. What's it like to live in this city?
What's it like to live in this city?
Well, it's very noisy and crowded.
Well, it's very noisy and crowded.
And the pollution is getting really bad.
And the pollution is getting really bad.
And I think we have one of the worst transportation systems in the world.
And I think we have one of the worst transportation systems in the world. One of the worst. The worst. Opposite of the best. So for superlative adjectives, we use the. Bad, worse, the worst. Good, better, the best.
I'd love to live somewhere else.
I love to live somewhere else.
5. How is it here anyway?
How is it here anyway?
Is this a nice place to live?
Is this a nice place to live?
Oh, I'm really glad we moved here.
Oh, I'm really glad we moved here.
The air is fresh,
The air is fresh.
and the people are very friendly.
And the people are very friendly.
Rents are pretty reasonable, and
Rents are pretty reasonable. So, reasonable for price means it is not very high. It is acceptable. Reasonable rents, reasonable prices.
it's a very safe city, too.
And it's a very safe city too.
That's so important.
That's so important.
Also, it's close to the sea.
Also, it's close to the sea. So one more time, I need to talk about this point, although I have talked about it in other videos. If it is an adjective, we pronounce it close. But if it is a verb, we pronounce it close. Your dictionary can beautifully let you know about it. So it is a verb.
Close.
It is an adjective.
Close.
Close. And the same
Close.
for adverb. But the noun,
Close.
close. So adverb and adjective are close, but verb and noun are close. So pay attention to that.
So it's great in the
So it's great
summer.
in the summer.
6.
Do you enjoy living here?
Do you enjoy living here?
Some things are okay.
Some things are okay. So a very important point here came up. He says some things are okay. He doesn't say something. Something has a singular verb. Something is okay. But here, some things, plural. Some things are okay. Something is okay. Very important. Pay attention to that. Something means one thing, but some things means several things.
The restaurants are pretty good, and
The restaurants are pretty good.
the subway system is pretty good too.
And the subway system is pretty good too.
But it's very old and not very clean.
But it's very old and not very clean.
The weather also isn't that great.
The weather also isn't that great.
It's very hot and humid in the summer and
It's very hot and humid in the summer
pretty cold in the winter. But
and pretty cold in the winter.
in general, it's not too bad.
But in general, it's not too bad. So finally, he's kind of satisfied with the city, okay? This was listening 1 we listened to. We had it for our speaking, we had it for sentence repetition for the sake of vocabulary, stress, and some grammatical points. Now, let's move to listening 2, and it says people are talking about cities. Listen and check the correct word that describes each city. So, person 1 talks about a city. Is it great? Is it safe? Is it cheap? Check. First time, non-stop. Please take notes and give your summary. Let's go.
Page 91. Track 35. Listening 2. 1.
So tell me about Tokyo. What's it like?
I love it. There are so many great things to do. I'm busy all the time.
Okay, it was not very long to take notes on. She is talking about Tokyo and she likes it very much because it is busy and she always has something to do. So it's great. Number 2.
2.
Do you like living here?
Well, it's okay. One thing I do like is that there's very little noise. People don't walk down the street with loud radios or anything. It's pretty nice.
He liked the city okay, and one thing especially he likes is that people are not walking down the streets with their radios on, which means the city is quiet. He likes it very much. Number 3.
3. Do you like it here?
It's okay, but it's awfully crowded and the air is so dirty. To tell you the truth, I'm thinking about moving.
Okay, so she's not satisfied with the city and she's also thinking about moving from this place. Why? Because it's very crowded and not that clean.
4.
Number 4, please.
What's it like living in New York?
Oh, it's really a great city, but you have to pay a fortune for everything.
New York, short and right to the point. It's a great city to be living in. The problem is it's very expensive.
5.
Is Auckland a very big city? Is it crowded?
Not really. It's really quite small. It's never very crowded or noisy. In fact, it's like a small town in many ways.
Okay, talking about Auckland, which is a small city and it's never crowded and never noisy. So you see, all the words are coming, but you need to realize that she says it's never crowded or noisy. It's not crowded or noisy. So small is the answer.
6.
So what's San Francisco like? I hear it's very scenic.
Yes, it is. The Golden Gate Bridge is great any time of the year. The parks and the ocean are beautiful too. It really is a very lovely city.
So, San Francisco, which is a lovely city based on what he says, and the San Francisco Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, which is beautiful all the time of the year.
7. What's your hometown like? Is it a nice place to live?
It's great, especially for families with children. It's pretty and quiet, and it isn't dangerous at all.
8.
So a very good city for families with children because it's not dangerous at all. It is safe.
Is Osaka a big place?
Sure. That's why I like it. Lots of people, lots of nightclubs and discos. I don't like small cities.
Osaka, a very large city, lots of discos and nightclubs, so it is large. He doesn't like small cities. Okay, this was the first time we listened to it. Please repeat the sentences with me on the second round, okay? Please.
1. So tell me about Tokyo.
So tell me about Tokyo.
What's it like?
What's it like? The same question getting repeated. What's it like?
I love it.
I love it. You see, some of the sentences have some kind of intonation in them. So if the sentence is I love it, you cannot just simply say I love it. It doesn't convey any message or any emotion with it. So you should say I love it. Pay attention to that.
There are so many great things to do.
There's so many great things to do.
I'm busy all the time.
I'm busy all the time.
2.
Do you like living here?
Do you like living here?
Well, it's okay.
Well, it's okay. So you know that the stress pattern for okay, it is on the second syllable, making it okay. If you say okay, it's not correct. Okay, like the word hotel. The word exists in lots of languages, but the stress falls on the second syllable in English. Maybe in some other languages it is on the first, making it hotel, but it is hotel. Okay.
One thing I do like is
again another important point. One thing I do like is, what is this do here? For the sake of emphasis. I do like it. So more emphasis on like.
that there's very little noise.
There's very little noise.
People don't walk down the street with loud radios or anything.
People don't walk down streets with loud radios. People don't walk. See? Do you hear this word don't?
Is that there's very little noise. People don't walk down the street with
People don't walk down the streets.
loud radios or anything. It's pretty nice.
It's pretty nice.
3. Do you like it here?
Do you like it here?
It's okay.
It's okay. Are you repeating exactly like what you hear? Very good. Okay.
But it's awfully crowded and
But it's awfully crowded. So what is awful? Awful means very bad. And she turns it into an adverb, awfully crowded. So adverbs modifying adjectives. Awfully crowded. Crowded is an adjective, so it needs an adverb for its modification. Awfully crowded.
the air is so dirty.
The air is so dirty.
To tell you the truth,
To tell you the truth,
I'm thinking about moving.
I'm thinking about moving.
4.
What's it like living in New York?
What's it like living in New York?
Oh, it's really a great city.
Oh, it's a really great city.
But you have to pay a fortune for everything.
But you have to pay a fortune for everything. Pay a fortune. Fortune means luck, chance. But here, pay a fortune means pay a lot of money. If you go to your dictionary, you see, fortune. Even the first meaning of fortune talks about money, a very large amount of money. The second meaning is chance. So, make a fortune means making a lot of money.
He made a fortune selling property in Spain.
Very good. So, a fortune, a small fortune. Okay? So, fortune means a lot of money. You have to pay a fortune to buy anything. It means you have to pay a lot of, so it means the city is very expensive.
5.
Is Auckland a very big city?
Is Auckland a very big city?
Is it crowded?
Is it crowded?
Not really.
Not really.
It's really quite small.
It's really quite small.
It's never very crowded or noisy.
It's never very crowded or noisy.
In fact, it's like a small town in many ways.
In fact, it's like a small town in many ways.
6.
So what's San Francisco like?
So, what's San Francisco like?
I hear it's very scenic.
I hear it's very scenic. Scenic means very beautiful to look at, with very beautiful scenes in it. Scenic, you see, with the stress on the first syllable.
Scenic.
Scenic, surrounded by views and beautiful countryside.
A region of scenic beauty.
A region of scenic beauty. So when you see something bold in your dictionary means it is collocation. These two words come together. So transfer them together into your vocabulary notebook. It's a region of scenic beauty. Means there is a lot of beautiful scenes to look at. Good? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. So it is, not it is. It is.
The Golden Gate Bridge is great any time of the year.
The Golden Gate Bridge is great any time of the year. Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco.
The parks and the ocean are beautiful too.
The parks and the ocean are beautiful too.
It really is a very lovely city.
It really is a very lovely city.
7. What's your hometown like?
What's your hometown like?
Is it a nice place to live?
Is it a nice place to live?
It's great.
It's great.
Especially for families with children.
Especially for families with children.
It's pretty and quiet.
It's pretty and quiet.
And it isn't dangerous at all.
And it isn't dangerous at all. At all. But the British says at all. It isn't dangerous at all.
8.
Is Osaka a big place?
Is Osaka a big place?
Sure.
Sure.
That's why I like it.
That's why I like it.
Lots of people.
Lots of people.
Lots of nightclubs.
Lots of nightclubs.
And discos.
And discos.
I don't like small cities.
I don't like small cities. Okay? Neither do I. Very good. So it was part 2. We listened to it first time and then repeated the sentences. And now, listening 3. People are comparing 2 cities. So, which city does each person prefer? In number 1, the person prefers New York City. But your job, please take notes and tell us a summary. Let's go for it, okay?
Page 92. Track 36. Listening 3. 1.
New York has great museums, and so does Washington. But Washington feels more serious because the government is there. So it isn't as exciting as New York. Washington is more beautiful for sure, and the restaurants are cheaper there. But you know, I love theater, and New York is the best. Washington is okay, but I love New York.
Okay, so we realize that the person prefers New York, though Washington DC is also a great city in his mind. Now please pause the video and give your summary. My summary: he's comparing New York with Washington, and in general he prefers New York City for the following reasons. Because he is in love with theater, and the best theaters are found in New York. Also, there are great museums in New York, which is great for him. But Washington kind of feels serious because the government is there, and it is not as exciting as New York. The good point about Washington is that there are cheap restaurants there, or cheaper restaurants compared to New York. Okay, number 2. So your summary can be something like this. Number 2.
2.
Los Angeles is a huge place. You need a car to get around. San Francisco is more beautiful and it's a great place for a weekend, but I get bored there after a few days. I enjoy the fact that in Los Angeles everything moves really fast. I love living here.
Okay, your summary, please. She's comparing Los Angeles with San Francisco, and in general, she prefers Los Angeles because it is huge and that's what she likes. So there are a lot of things to do, and the city is never boring. But San Francisco can sometimes become boring. She says she gets bored in San Francisco sometimes. Number 3.
3. Hong Kong may be more beautiful than Singapore because it's got that fantastic harbour. But I like Singapore better. It's smaller, so I think it's more comfortable. It's easy to get around, and everything is very clean. Hong Kong is pretty polluted, and it's always very crowded.
So he's comparing Singapore and Hong Kong. He says that Hong Kong is more beautiful because of the beautiful harbor it's got. Problem is that it's more polluted and more crowded, which is something he doesn't like. But the beautiful points about Singapore is that it is smaller, it is more comfortable, and it's easier to get around. Also, the city is much cleaner than Hong Kong. So he prefers Singapore. And Sydney or Melbourne?
4.
Melbourne is smaller than Sydney. It has a lot of lovely old buildings and great restaurants. Sydney is more exciting and probably more beautiful, but I think it's too busy and too expensive. Melbourne prices are better and it's a more relaxing place. That's why I prefer Melbourne.
Okay, she's comparing these two cities which always have rivalry between Melbourne and Sydney. She says Melbourne is smaller and it has beautiful restaurants. Prices there are lower and the city is more relaxing compared to Sydney. Sydney is busy and it is more expensive. Therefore, overall, her estimation is that Melbourne suits her better. Okay, this could be a summary for you as well. Now let's go and repeat it sentence by sentence. Are you ready? Please do it with me.
Great museum. 1. New York has great museums. And
New York has great museums.
And so does Washington.
And so does Washington. So we have talked about this grammar before, but I repeat myself. It says New York has great museums. And so does Washington. So why does he say and so does Washington? It means and Washington has great museums as well, or has great museums too. So the question word and the subject. Okay? New York has great museums and so does Washington. Sentences in agreement.
But Washington feels more serious because the government is there.
Because the government is there.
So it isn't as exciting as New York. Washington is more beautiful for sure.
For sure.
And the restaurants are cheaper there. But you know, I love theater. And New York is the best. Washington is okay. But I love New York.
He repeats himself several times.
2. Los Angeles is a huge place. You need a car to get around.
To move in the city.
San Francisco is more beautiful and it's a great place for a weekend.
And it's a great place for a weekend.
But I get bored there after.
So the collocation for that, get bored. Boring, bored. Get bored.
After a few days.
After a few days.
I enjoy the fact that in Los Angeles, everything moves really fast.
Everything moves really fast.
I love living here.
I love living here.
3. Hong Kong may be more beautiful than
Hong Kong may be more beautiful than Singapore.
Singapore because it's got that fantastic harbor.
Because it's got that fantastic harbor. So, it's got means it has. It's got that fantastic harbor. It has that fantastic harbor.
But I like Singapore better.
But I like Singapore better.
It's smaller.
It's smaller.
So I think it's more comfortable.
So I think it's more comfortable.
It's easy to get around.
It's easy to get around. It's easy to get around. It's easy to get around. See? Do you understand what he says?
It's smaller. So I think it's more comfortable. It's easy to get around.
It's easy to get around.
And everything is very clean.
And everything is very clean.
Hong Kong is pretty polluted.
Hong Kong is pretty polluted.
And it's always very crowded.
And it's always very crowded.
4.
Number 4.
Melbourne is smaller than Sydney.
Melbourne is smaller than Sydney.
It has a lot of lovely old buildings and
it has a lot of lovely old buildings. Buildings. See, it's difficult the way she says buildings.
Melbourne is smaller than Sydney. It has a lot of lovely old buildings and great restaurants.
Lovely old buildings and great restaurants.
Sydney is more exciting and probably more...
Sydney is more exciting and probably more...
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
But I think it's too busy and too expensive.
But I think it's too busy and too expensive.
Melbourne prices are better and...
Melbourne prices are better. Better.
It's a more relaxing place.
And it's a more relaxing place.
That's why I prefer Melbourne.
That's why I prefer Melbourne. Okay? Very good. So, comparison of these cities we listened to, and overall, Unit 23 finished. The good news is that next session we are covering Unit 24, and that is the end of this book, talking about health. After that, I will go for book 2 in this series. But overall, what did we talk about today in a glance? Today we had on a part 1, what's she like, what's he like, what's your city like, what's the weather like. A very beautiful sentence, useful. Correct pronunciation of this word, which is theater. Theater. The trouble is means the problem, the downside. Get polluted, become polluted. As adjective as, which you know what it is, and also used to. Climate, which is more general than weather, which is more specific and short-term. Superlative adjectives, you know, the reasonable, which means not very high. The correct pronunciation of the two words, if it is an adjective or adverb. Close, if it is a noun or a verb. Close. Some things and something. We talked about the difference. The beautiful pronunciation with your feelings. Okay. Hotel. One thing I do like. Emphasis. Awful, which means very bad, and the adverb for that to modify an adjective. Awfully crowded. Pay a fortune, which means pay a lot of money. Scenic, with a lot of beautiful scenes. And part 3, we talked about this structure, and so does Washington. Get around or go around, get bored or become bored, and it's got or it has. Okay? And as for my final comment, my friends, I hope you enjoyed the unit. If you did, please share them with your friends. If still you haven't subscribed, please kindly do so. Your subscription, your share, and your like, all of them are useful for my channel. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you have a brilliant day ahead of yourself. Take very good care and bye.